My name is Alex Ryder, or at least that's the only name I can cling to in this chaotic storm of memory, a name like a fragile life raft in a vast ocean of oblivion. My past is like an ancient book devoured by greedy flames, leaving only charred pages, faded, meaningless letters, impossible to decipher even a single line. Fleeting, hazy images like smoke, distant echoes of sterile white laboratory corridors where the air hung thick with the smell of antiseptic and despair. Cold, unfeeling glass cages, dimly reflecting the fluorescent lights and the haunting eyes of strange creatures, imprisoned beings, creatures people only dared to whisper about in hushed, trembling voices in the dead of night when darkness reigned and primal fear crept into every corner of the soul. I don't know who I am, where I came from, or why cruel fate has pushed me onto this solitary and perilous path, a path with no clear beginning and no promised destination. But there's an intense urge, an ember burning deep within my soul, a burning desire to find the truth, to lift the thick, mysterious veil shrouding my life. And the only path that seems to lie before me is to follow the trail of these strange creatures, these monsters people often cloak in the mantle of legend, these creations of darkness and fear, entities that science tries to deny but that always exist, challenging human understanding. Each monster hunt, for me, is not merely a mission, a job for survival, or an adventure seeking excitement. It's a search, an excavation into my own being, into the deepest layers of my subconscious, where buried memories are trying to resurface. Every monster defeated, every mystery unveiled, could be a missing piece, a faint, though fragile, glimmer of light in the puzzle of my life. A chance to understand myself better, and this vast, complex world, a world full of strange things, primal fears, and also hidden, undiscovered beauties, secrets, that this universe still conceals. My journey perhaps was destined to begin in a dry, dusty land of Mexico. Here, the sun is like a giant furnace, scorching ambitions and hopes, turning them to ash, leaving behind barrenness and despair. And the night is a sanctuary for the most primal fears, things that humans try to bury in their subconscious but can never completely erase. They always lurk, waiting for an opportunity to rise, to seize the weakened mind. I came here not because of a formal invitation, a warm welcome, but because of a desperate plea for help, a faint cry for help in the desolate desert, a final entreaty from a man who had lost all hope. An old, tattered, sweat and tear-stained letter sent from a remote village I'd never heard of, with the trembling, scrawled words of a farmer named Miguel. He spoke of something, a specter sowing terror, a monster he called a goat-sucking vampire, a simple name but one that contained unspeakable horror. But the locals, with a fear and reverence deeply ingrained in their subconscious, called it by another name, a name that had become a legend, a name that merely to mention was enough to make one shudder, to send chills down the spine. El Chupacabra, the goat-sucker, my old Jeep, my reluctant companion on these perilous adventures, a rusted but still resilient hulk of metal, clattered along the red dirt road, dust billowing like a curtain obscuring the view, making the space hazy and suffocating, as if stepping into another world. On either side of the road were barren cactus fields, stretching their thorny, gaunt arms to the cloudless azure sky, like challenges to the harshness of nature, like silent sentinels of this land. Under the scorching, harsh sun, everything seemed to shrivel, withered, waiting for a release, a rare rain shower, a miracle. At the end of the road, a small farm appeared, simple but still holding a little warmth of life, a fragile oasis in this harsh land, a testament to human resilience. Miguel greeted me at the gate. He was a weather-beaten man, his face deeply etched with the wrinkles of time, of long sleepless nights and unceasing worry, like furrows on a dry field. His eyes were sunken, tired, his eyelids dark, but a faint, fragile glimmer of hope still shone in them when he saw me, like a drowning man grasping a life raft, a final light at the end of the tunnel. His skin was tanned, leathery, like the very land he had been bound to his entire life, a land that both sustained him and brought him terror. He led me to the livestock pen, where his horror began, where the desperate, tragic cries had been swallowed by the night, leaving no trace, only a deathly silence. "It comes at night," Miguel said, his voice hoarse, as if he hadn't spoken in a long time, as if fear had choked his throat, rendering him speechless. No sound, no warning, silent as a ghost, a waking nightmare. In the morning, we only find the dry, cold carcasses with 2 small bites on the neck, as if attacked by a venomous snake. But there's no venom, only emptiness. He pointed to a corner of the pen, where a few goats lay motionless, their eyes still wide open, reflecting the final, unspeakable horror, a horror that only those who had directly experienced it could understand. I knelt, carefully observing a dead goat. Just as Miguel said, there were no signs of a violent struggle. The fur wasn't ruffled, no other scratches on the body. Only 2 small, round, deep bites, sharp as needles, symmetrically placed on the neck, like a mark of death, and an indescribable, chilling, cold sensation, as if something unnatural, an entity from another world, had been present here, leaving its mark. The animal's blood seemed to have been completely drained, leaving a dry, shriveled, light carcass, like an empty shell. Chupacabra. The name has haunted the rural areas of Latin America for decades, sowing fear and confusion. It's described in countless different forms, each account adding more bizarre details, making its image even more vague and terrifying. Some say it resembles a bipedal reptile with gray, wrinkled skin and a row of sharp spines running down its back, like a prehistoric lizard. Others insist it's like a hairless, deformed dog, with sharp fangs and glowing red eyes that pierce the night. Some even describe it with wings, capable of gliding like a giant bat. The only common thread in these tales is how it attacks its prey, silently, quickly, and only drinking blood, leaving behind dry, cold carcasses. Many scientists, those who always believe in what can be seen and proven, try to dismiss the Chupacabra's existence, claiming it's merely a product of a vivid imagination, of mass hysteria, or caused by common predators like coyotes or feral dogs, afflicted with mange that makes them look bizarre, hairless. But the perfect bites, the complete draining of blood without signs of a struggle, the strange footprints, not belonging to any known animal, none of it fits those simple, logical explanations. Something else is happening here, something that mainstream science cannot yet explain, a mystery that challenges human understanding, and that's precisely why I'm here. I took out my specialized toolkit, items that have been with me through countless dangers, testaments to unnamed confrontations, tools that help me seek truth in the darkness. I meticulously collected soil samples from around the area, any remaining strands of fur, however small, and anything that might provide a clue, however faint, about this monster. But the more I investigated, the more confused and bewildered I became. The footprints didn't belong to any animal I'd ever known, or even read about in books. They had 3 long toes, with long, sharp claws, pressed deep into the hard ground, as if some giant reptile had passed through here, a creature from prehistoric times. Or worse, a creation not of this world, a product of some experiment gone awry. Night fell, bringing with it the biting cold of the desert and a suffocating silence, as if the whole world was holding its breath. I decided to set an ambush. I couldn't let this monster continue to sow terror for Miguel's family and the people here. I couldn't let fear win. I set up sophisticated traps around the livestock pen, tripwires thin as spider silk, invisible in the dark, motion sensors cleverly disguised under cactus bushes, and infrared cameras capable of piercing the night, recording every movement, however small. I sat in the Jeep, engine off, headlights off, observing silently, blending into the darkness, patiently waiting for my prey to appear. The waiting is always the hardest part, the greatest test of a hunter's patience and will. Time crawled by, heavy, each second, each minute stretching endlessly, like torture, only the wind whistling through the cactus bushes, carrying the dry smell of the earth, the incessant, mournful chirping of insects, and the thumping of my own heart, echoing in my chest like a countdown clock. I began to doubt. Was I chasing a ghost? A product of vivid imagination and the extreme fear of the people here? Or was this just someone's cruel joke, meant to sow confusion, to test my courage? Then a strange sound broke the suffocating silence of the night. A soft, dry hiss, like a large snake slithering through dry leaves, but with something more sinister, a sound not of this world. I glued my eyes to the camera monitor, and my heart seemed to stop. The blood in my veins felt like it was freezing. All my senses were on high alert, ready for the confrontation. A strange, grotesque creature emerged from the darkness, as if born from the night itself, like a waking nightmare. It was about a meter tall, with gray, wrinkled, hairless skin, stretched taut over its bones, glistening faintly under the dim moonlight, reflecting a cold light. Its large, round eyes glowed a fiery red, like two smoldering coals, emitting a ghostly, cold light in the night. A gaze devoid of emotion, only hunger. It moved on its hind legs, its posture slightly stooped, but it had sharp, pointed spines running down its back, from the nape of its neck to the tip of its tail, like a miniature dinosaur, a creature stepped out of humanity's worst nightmares. Its mouth was full of sharp fangs, and a long, forked tongue flicked in and out continuously, as if tasting the air. It moved with an agile, stealthy, fluid grace, like a phantom, making no significant sound, as if it knew how to blend into the darkness. It easily avoided all my traps, as if it could sense their presence with some sixth sense, or as if it was all too familiar with these cat-and-mouse games, having faced other hunters before me, and won. I couldn't wait any longer. This was the only chance. If I missed it, there might not be a second. I decided to act. I gently opened the Jeep door, trying not to make a sound, grabbed the tranquilizer gun I had prepared, loaded with the strongest darts, and slowly stepped out, merging into the darkness, trying to approach the monster unexpectedly, to gain an advantage. "Stop!" I shouted, my voice trying to maintain a calm facade, but still unable to hide the tension and a slight tremor, a little fear creeping into my mind. The monster whirled around, its fiery red eyes staring straight at me, as if wanting to pierce my soul, as if wanting to read my every thought, my every fear. A cold, primal, chilling fear ran down my spine, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. But I knew I couldn't back down. Retreating meant failure, meant letting fear win, meant betraying myself. It let out a low, guttural growl, a sound emanating from its throat, full of ferocity and threat, then lunged at me with terrifying speed, faster than any creature I had ever faced, fast as a whirlwind. I reacted instinctively, an instinct honed through countless confrontations, dodging to the side, while simultaneously pulling the trigger. A tranquilizer dart ripped through the air, carrying my hope, the hope of ending the fight quickly. But it was too fast, too agile, as if born to fight and evade, as if it could see the future. It easily dodged the dart and leaped, attacking me with its sharp, dagger-like claws, aiming straight for my throat, the most vulnerable spot. I rolled on the dusty ground, narrowly avoiding the fatal blow, just in the nick of time. A sharp pain shot through my shoulder where its claws had grazed, leaving a deep scratch, blood starting to ooze out, staining my shirt crimson. I drew a dagger made of a special alloy, the weapon that had been with me through life and death, a part of myself, its sharp blade gleaming under the moonlight, reflecting the determination in my eyes, preparing for an uneven close-quarters combat, a fight where only one person or one monster could survive, a fight that would determine fate. The real fight began. a dance of darkness and cold steel, of life and death, a symphony of chaos. The Chupacabra was no ordinary wild beast, driven by pure instinct. It moved with the agility and cunning of a seasoned hunter, a predator honed through countless battles, a perfect killing machine, a real-life nightmare. Every pounce, every swipe of its claws carried a terrifying force, aimed at my most vulnerable points, places where a slight misstep could cost me my life. I had to constantly move, dodge, pivot, looking for the smallest openings to counterattack, to keep myself from being overwhelmed, from being cornered, from becoming its next victim. It leaped onto the dilapidated walls of the livestock pen, then suddenly lunged down like a black thunderbolt, like a feral cat hunting in the night, so fast that the naked eye could barely follow, only seeing a blurred streak lunging forward. Its claws tore through the air, creating a horrifying whistling sound, like the scythe of death swinging. I raised my dagger to parry. The sound of metal clashing with claws rang out loudly, sparks flying, like lost shooting stars illuminating its enraged face. The impact was so strong that my arm went numb, as if it was about to break, a searing pain spreading throughout my body, nearly causing me to drop my weapon. It gave me no second to rest, no moment to breathe, to gather my thoughts, constantly attacking from different directions, using the darkness and chaos to conceal its sudden, treacherous attacks, forcing me to defend myself desperately. I tried to keep my distance, looking for an opportunity to use the tranquilizer gun again, but it was too smart, too wary, as if it could read my mind. It seemed to understand the weapon's effect, and always maintained a safe distance, or moved too quickly for me to take accurate aim. The tranquilizer darts only hit the wooden walls or flew into the empty void. I threw a few nearby objects, an empty bucket, a rotten piece of wood, towards it, hoping to distract it, even for a moment, to create a small opportunity. But I only received an angry growl, and its attacks became even more frenzied, like a cornered beast with nothing left to lose. The smell of my blood, the strong, fresh smell of blood, seemed to further agitate it, to further awaken its predatory instincts, like adding fuel to a fire. Its fiery red eyes became even more ferocious, like two hellish flames, illuminating the darkness, reflecting its bloodlust. I could feel the insane hunger emanating from it, a hunger not merely physical, but a craving for destruction. This was not a simple hunt, this was a battle for survival, and it was also fighting with all its might, fighting to live, fighting to protect its secret, fighting with all the ferocity of a predator. I backed away, my back hitting a rotten wooden wall, trying to find a foothold, a bit of stability amidst the chaos, a place where I could defend myself better. My breathing became heavy, ragged, my chest felt like it was about to burst, my lungs felt constricted. The wound on my shoulder began to throb intensely, painfully, blood still flowing ceaselessly, soaking a large patch of my shirt. I knew I couldn't prolong this fight. My strength was dwindling, bit by bit, while the monster seemed to be still full of energy, like a tireless machine, a machine programmed to kill. I needed a plan, a different tactic, a glimmer of hope, a way to survive, if I didn't want to become its next victim. Looking around desperately, in the brief moment between its hurricane-like attacks, I saw a pile of dry hay nearby, piled up by Miguel to feed his livestock, a seemingly insignificant detail but one that could change the tide, a light in the darkness. An idea flashed in my mind, bold, reckless, but perhaps this was my only chance, my last trump card, my only hope to turn the tables, to survive. The Chupacabra lunged again, this time aiming for my legs, trying to trip me, to expose my weaknesses, to finish me off quickly. I dodged the treacherous attack, simultaneously grabbing a large bundle of dry hay, using the old Zippo lighter in my pocket, the one I always carried, a habit of unknown origin, a memento of a lost past, a small piece of my life, to set it ablaze. The small, weak flame initially, quickly caught onto the dry hay, erupting violently. The fire erupted violently, illuminating a corner of the dark yard, dispelling the night, creating a warm but also dangerous area of light. The Chupacabra froze, its fiery red eyes squinting at the sudden light, an instinctive reaction of creatures living in darkness, creatures afraid of light. It seemed to be afraid of fire, even terrified. This was it, its weakness. A glimmer of hope flashed in my mind, a powerful surge of hope. I swung the burning bundle of hay towards it, creating a temporary wall of fire, forcing it to retreat, to keep its distance, not daring to approach. The fire singed a part of its skin, causing it to shriek, a high-pitched, painful sound. Seizing that precious moment, the moment it was still confused and scared, the moment it exposed an opening, I lunged forward like an arrow, using all my remaining strength, aiming my dagger at its side, where I guessed it was least protected, where its skin seemed thinner, where I could inflict a fatal blow. The sharp blade of my dagger plunged deep into its flesh, piercing through its thick, tough skin. A horrifying, painful shriek erupted, unlike any animal sound I had ever heard. A sound filled with rage and despair, a sound that made one shudder, sending chills down the spine. It thrashed violently, trying to throw me off, trying to escape the agonizing pain, trying to bite and claw me one last time. Its thick, black, viscous blood splattered everywhere, staining my hands and clothes, carrying a foul, pungent smell, a smell of death. I gritted my teeth, holding the dagger handle tightly, putting all my body weight into it, trying to push the blade deeper, ignoring its frenzied struggles, ignoring its sharp claws tearing at my arm. The Chupacabra collapsed, the spines on its back trembling, then going limp, losing their sharpness like withered leaves. It tried to get up one more time, its fiery red eyes still glinting with ferocity, with bloodlust, but then it fell again, heavily, lifelessly, only despair remaining. Its fiery red eyes slowly dimmed, losing their ghostly light, returning the terrifying silence to the night, leaving only the crackling sound of the fire and my heavy, ragged breathing, my heart pounding erratically. I stood panting, drenched in sweat, my muscles aching, feeling like I was about to collapse. The wound on my shoulder throbbed intensely, but I tried to ignore it. I looked at the monster lying motionless on the ground, a grotesque creature, a product of darkness, now harmless, just an empty shell, a reminder of the dangers I had to face. I approached, cautiously observing this strange creature more closely. The creature that had sowed terror throughout the region. Its skin was cold, the spines on its back still sharp, like knives, ready to inflict injury. And then, I noticed something strange, a tiny detail but one that made me think. A detail not of nature, a mark of intervention, irrefutable evidence. On the Chupacabra's neck, there was a small, rectangular piece of metal, embedded tightly in its skin, as if implanted there purposefully, skillfully. It looked like a tracking chip, a positioning device, or something similar, a piece of high technology that shouldn't appear in such a remote place, a place where time seemed to have stopped. With an irresistible curiosity, and also a foreboding premonition, an uneasy feeling creeping into my mind, I carefully removed the piece of metal. And at that very moment, a familiar sensation, a cold electric jolt shot through my mind, like a shock, like a door being kicked open, revealing hidden secrets. A vague, flickering memory surfaced, like an old, distorted film, full of gaps. A vast laboratory, brightly lit by fluorescent lights, cold, emotionless white walls, transparent glass cages. And inside them, a monster identical to this Chupacabra, growling and clawing, its eyes full of rage and despair, a haunting image, an image I could never forget. A sharp headache struck, violent, as if thousands of needles were piercing my temples, making me dizzy, almost causing me to collapse. The world around me seemed to sway, to blur, everything spinning. I sat down on the cold ground, clutching my head, trying to piece together the fragmented memories, the broken pieces, trying to find a meaning, an explanation for what had just happened, for what I had just seen in my mind, for those terrifying images. Who am I? Why do I have these strange memories? Memories of experiments, of imprisoned monsters, of unforgivable crimes. And who or what created this Chupacabra, and perhaps all the other monsters I was about to face, creatures with whom I felt a strange connection, an inexplicable bond? That question kept swirling in my head, like a ghost that couldn't be banished, a burden I had to carry, a secret I had to uncover at any cost. That night, under the dim moonlight of the harsh Mexican land, I found El Chupacabra. The creature that sowed terror had been vanquished. But at the same time, I also found a much larger mystery, a much more challenging puzzle, a labyrinth with no exit, a door leading to a world I had never known, a world full of dangers and horrifying secrets, a mystery about my own past. A past I couldn't remember, but that relentlessly haunted me, like a curse, like a call from the abyss, a call I couldn't ignore. My journey, truly, had only just begun, and I knew that ahead lay many unanswered questions, much darkness to be unveiled, many truths to be exposed, no matter how painful, and many monsters, creatures emerging from nightmares, from mad experiments, were waiting for me. Every step was a gamble, every confrontation a test, but I would not stop until I found the truth, until I found myself. Because that was the only path I could take. The path of a monster hunter, a truth seeker, a lost soul trying to find his way home.